Hi, this is Anthony Hamilton. I'm the author of Mind, Time, and Power, a book about transforming your life step by step using what I call the five laws of personal transformation or mental magic, MAGIC: motivation, attitude, goals, imagination, and consciousness. 2 years ago, along with my friend Jessica Colhart, we started a weekly series of question and answer sessions for people that have my book or perhaps one of my online courses based on the book. And we called them Have Your Best Year Ever in 2022. Well, we've been doing these weekly calls now for 26 months. People show up every week, and we have these discussions about how to use the principles in my book and in my mental magic workbook to systematically, step by step, change their lives. This video is a continuation of a session that was recorded on March 2nd, 2024, in which I am asking Greg, one of our regular attendees, about some successes that he's recently achieved and his strategy for doing so. So enjoy this video. I have something else I was going to talk about, or at least ask Greg about, because we've been talking about the past successes list and designing our life, looking at our dreams and our goals and analyzing the 6 different areas of our life and setting some different goals, improving our life. If I have 6 different areas, and most of the way I look at my life, whether physical, spiritual, mental, financial, family, or social, if it's like an 8, but one area is a 4, then I should try and bring that up, right? I should improve that area, bring it up from a 4 to an 8, let's say. So it's the same as all the other ones. So I believe that that's what you did, Greg. And you did it a couple times. This is how I see it. You can tell me whether or not it's accurate. But I'd be curious about your thought process. And one of them was when you decided to go visit your family a few years ago in Florida, that you looked at your physical life, your social life, your relationships, your finances, whatever, and you looked at your family life and you thought, geez, my family life, the way I relate to my siblings and my nieces and nephews and things like that, that could be improved. I haven't put much energy on that, and I think I'd like to improve it. And so you decided to go and visit your family in Florida. And when you came back, you said, you felt a whole lot better about it. And that area of your life now, your family relationships, is much better. So that's one thing that I noticed. The other one was when I talked about losing weight in November last year, you said that you wanted to lose weight. You wanted to become healthier and get rid of, some excess weight. But over the last year, it didn't work. You're still the same, more or less, right? Your goal, your dream, didn't pan out. So we have that worksheet that says, form a plan, take the first step. Are you getting closer? Yes. Okay, keep going. Are you getting closer? No. Oh, change your plan. It's not working. So it seems to me that what you did a few months ago was you looked at that and you said, wait a second, this idea of losing weight here, my strategy isn't working. I'm still the same. I need to change my plan. And so what you did, and again, I'd be curious how accurate my assessment or my view of it is, and if this relates to what you actually were doing. You said, hey, I got to change my plan here. Obviously, I don't have the ability to stick to a diet or exercise plan long enough to actually make a difference. So I'm gonna join a group of buddies who are working out, and we'll do it together, and they're going to motivate me and make it easier for me to win at it. So you changed your strategy, new plan, developed a new plan, and now it's working. What do you think
Yeah,
of that?
I would agree. I think that I'd like to say that it was purposeful all the time. I want to say, but I think probably the reality is that some of this stuff I kind of bumbled into it, and I think now looking at it retroactively, I've become determined to do that more purposefully. Now I'm trying to redo that habit of doing that.
Doing
In
what?
other words, I wasn't working, for example, I wasn't purposely working in the workbook to come up with those ideas. I
Mm-hmm.
think that I kind of fell into them. Um, I don't want to say randomly or by luck. I mean, I kind of wandered into that, maybe got distracted into that and did it, and it was successful at some level. And now I look back at it and say, oh, wow, this is working. When I changed strategies, not maybe because I decided to change it, but because it kind of honestly was random. By changing this strategy, it started to work. So why am I not changing strategy more frequently? Why am I not? I think don't have a real difficult time being persistent, but also there's a time to maybe move in a different direction. And I think that those, working more methodically through the process, which each of these areas of life, and saying, where do I want to go? What progress am I making? What things can I do differently as a discipline is more meaningful to me. And seeing the importance of that, I guess, is the point. I see it like episodical. I think that what we're talking about is we're talking about stories. There's stories that follow each of the areas of our life. There's a story of your physical health. There's a story of your relationship. There's a story of each of these areas. And if you're not creating one, one's happening. But if you start to try to improve an area, and you say, I want the story to get better about my family relationship or about my health. And you start to purposely, kind of like almost like storyboards. You start to create a storyboard of where do I want to be 30 days from now? Okay. How's it working? Is it progressing, or am I then falling off, and do I need to try a different strategy? And so I see that as something that we're talking about here a little bit. Life is like a story. You have a story, you want to play a story of your life. And we're all trying to affect our future lives. And so I've really gotten more serious about doing this iteration of trying to do it. And I feel like I'm even practicing that as a new method. But it's actually a lot of fun. I mean, I feel like I think I said the other day, I was actually talking to a family member about this recently, and they got excited because they said, oh, we should do that together. And they started to kind of buy into it a little bit. I was like, we could affect the future of our family and the future of our next 10 years together by changing some of these things, regularly looking at it and drawing out a plan. I said, really, you draw out a plan? I said, yeah, I'm worth it. My time is worth it. I mean, if I've got time to watch Netflix, which is, watching somebody else's story, I have time to make my own life
Yeah,
be meaningful.
yeah,
And they said, that's a good idea. They hadn't really thought of being purposeful themselves. So
exactly. Yeah,
uh, teaching this.
most people don't. Yeah, so tell them to get set an appointment, get together with them once a week or something, and talk about it. Share these worksheets with them and see what happens. Um, yeah, so I've used a couple of analogies to try and show what this process means to me, and I keep changing them. One I've used and I've written about is the idea of your life is a garden. You can look at these 6 areas of your life as 6 areas of your garden, and just look around and say, any weeds there that I can pull out, or do I want to plant any new plants in there? If I want a rose bush in there, I can just go into the local store, buy a little rose bush, stick it in, and now I'm going to have roses blossoming for the next 30 years, right? So that's one analogy. Another analogy I've used is the idea of an architect. You're the architect. You know, if you're going to design a house, you're going to have a plan for every square inch of the house before the builder starts to build it. Well, when you think of yourself as the architect of your life, of your future, then you realize I got to do the same thing about my future, you know. If I don't design the bathroom and then the house gets built and, you know, the toilet doesn't work and there's no bath in there and there's no shower because I forgot to tell the guy to put one in, it's like, hey, wait a second, you know, that's not what I want. I wanted a shower stall in there and the guy didn't put one in because I didn't put it in my plan. You know, it seems silly, right? So thinking of yourself as an architect and moving into the house, which is your future, starting like today, tomorrow's the future, right? That's another way to look at it. And I've also talked about, and I think this is a good one. This relates to what you were saying. If I was offered an opportunity to create a movie of something that I wanted, let's say the movie of my future, right? Um, I can write the screenplay and I can make this movie and be the star of it. What would I put in there? What would I put in, you know, in terms of my health and my finances and my relationships and my travel and exploring the world or, you know, developing spiritually, you know, whatever it means, right? Write the screenplay and then you can change the screenplay if you want, but when you get it to the place you want, then just step into it and live that life. That's what actors
Yeah.
literally do. I mean, look at Stallone. He wrote a screenplay called Rocky, and kaboom, you know, he became Rocky Balboa, right? So Schwarzenegger, same thing. Michael Caine, same thing. You know, like a lot of people, that's that's what they did. So, but that perspective, as you just pointed out, you know, a lot of people you mention that to them and they kind of go, "Gee, I didn't know you could do that. I didn't realize you could plan your life out, you know, and create it."
We just we were moving. I was going over last night to look at our house because our house is going through a transformation. And it's funny. I was thinking of some Jessica said subpositions. I'm like, what does that word mean? It means the position that underlies the situation, right? So it's like your filter that you have already. You've got it. You have a position that you already have that's underlying all your decisions, right? But it was interesting going over the house because I remember the way the house was. We tore out everything. We tore out the
Right.
first floor. We tore out all the walls, you know, down to the studs. And now my wife had worked with the designer and she's revamped it. It's not something we would have chosen to do, but we were forced to do it because of water
What a lucky break that
damage.
was.
Yeah, I was like, how do you do that
Expensive,
again?
but
But yeah, I think you only do. I think your insurance carrier only wants that maybe once in your life. But we'll see
right.
if they keep me. But nonetheless, we were doing it. But it was totally removing what existed before, and now we have all different colors and different cabinets and different backsplashes, and different flooring and different carpet. We put in some carpet while we were doing it because we did some other things because we were doing what we had to do. You're like, you might as well do it now because you're in there. But boy, talk about a transformation. And I was telling you, my son works out quite a bit. So I was watching him in the last 400 days. He just had a thing come out, said 200 days in the gym or something. That was a little snippet I saw he put up on one of the social media things. And
Wow.
he had like 10,000 hits or something like that. Because he's transformed his body in 2 years from this little cute kid to a pretty significant, physicality. And I'm like, wow, those are two good examples right in front of me of what we're talking about, which is this transformation. And that a lot of it is we don't even try. We're like, yeah, I could never be different. I could never change my tone. I could never change my position in life or how I approach things. But really, it's like that Catch Me If You Can, movie where Leonardo DiCaprio goes in and he's an airplane pilot or he's a medical doctor. He just starts doing what an airplane doctor does or an airplane pilot does or a medical doctor does, and he can be that. And so we just never really do it. We never say, what if I'm different? What if I
Yeah,
want to be
well, Anthony
a
Robbins
writer?
says it's either inspiration or desperation. And
Yeah.
that's right on, because like with your house, for example, you had no choice. You were desperate, right? The flood came. You had to tear the stuff apart and rebuild it. You wouldn't have done that, you know, except, you know, unless you maybe won the lottery or something. But under normal circumstances, you'd have lived in the same house and wouldn't have changed it until you were forced to.
Yeah, I would have never done a house remodel. I
Yeah,
never would have done that in my life. I mean, I'm
exactly.
old enough. I haven't done it yet. I mean, I would never conceive of, saying a plan and so you're going to go borrow some money and or go save some money to go do a major transformation of my abode. I would never think of doing that. It's too big a
Right.
project. But
And all
when
of a
they
sudden
said
you
you
had
have
to.
to,
Yeah,
they're like, if you cannot leave that moisture underneath your house at a slab leak. I mean, like you can't do that. I mean, you'll end up with mold or you'll end up with something that will destroy this building, if you don't go in there and do it. So we had to do it. And when we did it, I didn't do it, frankly. My wife did a lot of it. And it was like a wedding. I went along for the ride.
right.
But to see that transformation was really pretty wild. It's like, wow, it could be so different. Um, and I think that's inspiring to say I can be that different. My family, as they started to travel more, other people are traveling more and we're planning more trips. And there's other connections happening beyond my reach. As I start talking very positively about myself and about what I'm doing, it rubs off on other people. They start to say, well, maybe I'll do that too. And now all of a sudden, I'm seeing transformation in other people around me a little bit. So, you lift. It was interesting, Naomi, you were saying, that you're retiring and, some of the lessons you learned, you may not be able to directly apply into a 40-year career, but you may be able to teach some people that are beginning in their career in your family some of the principles you learned or
True.
be a leader. A lot of times people that are older have experience and yet they choose not to share it. And I think that's a mistake. I think because we get a lot of signals that being old is not valuable in our society. But, I think that as we get older, there's a lot of wisdom that is there and you can find a platform to convey it and share that with other people so they don't have as many struggles. But, anyways, I just, I didn't know I could do
Thank
it
you.
before. I mean, I didn't know
Yeah,
I could change some of these things. So
until
it's
you
kind
had
of
to.
powerful. Yeah. But
Okay,
it's,
well, I think
so I'm
this,
trying to make it more purposeful, I guess, an iteration
right.
to set aside time to do these important things. If I don't set aside the time for the planning and then the achieving of those goals and get on that path, I could say, well, you're too old to change too much. I'm like, well, no, I'm not. In terms of doing that, I can, Colonel Sanders started Kentucky Fried Chicken at 65, right?
That's right.
You can change the world if you, choose to do so, but, or at least change your world.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly.
so,
Well, I think this has been great. Totally
oh,
spontaneous. I mean, when I started this morning, joined this group at 10 o'clock, um, I didn't really have a lot to talk about except what I just asked Greg about. Um, so I think it unfolded great. I'm looking forward to watching the replay. Okay, well,
thank
thanks.
you for that addition to our group. That's really great.
Thanks,
Yeah,
everybody.
sounds good.
Have a nice week.
You
You
too.
too.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Take
Bye,
care.
Naomi.
Yeah,
Bye.
bye-bye.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Ken. Okay. Bye bye.
For more information about this online community, to get your own copy of the book upon which this entire training series is based, either the ebook, the paperback, or the audiobook, go to mindtimeandpower.com, where you can also get a free copy of this Design Your Life workbook.